code Accelerator.
How did you know where she was running? You know, repeatedly pressing the button and flicking the knob isn't gonna fix the machine. Why do people tend to do that?
Are you done? You just gonna stand there like an idiot? If you're not buying anything, move it!
That's a Tokiwadai Middle School uniform.
And how do you know that if you don't remember who Misaka is? If you don't remember who she is, you wouldn't know which school she goes to.
Jeez, you're one rude chick.
Chick, I have a name! When will you get it through your thick skull? My name is Mikoto Misaka!
Well, that is the rudest way to correct somebody I've ever seen.
You're wasting your time. That vending machine is just gonna eat your money.
Yeah, I know that. There's a trick to it. I can get a drink out of this thing without spending any money at all.
What kind of trick?
Okay, so in the Japanese version, Misaka called out an attack name when kicking the vending machine. In the English dub, she doesn't call out the attack name. Was it really so hard to say chaser?
Nice shorts.
Pervert. Well, at least they're not actual panties. I believe Misaka is wearing these shorts because she's worried that her skirt is so short that her panties might get exposed.
This is an old machine. The springs that hold the drinks in place are loose, so you just have to jiggle them. The only catch is you can't choose what you get this way.
If the vending machine has been broken for a long time, why didn't anybody report about its problems to the higher-ups in Academy City?
Oh, I see. So how much cash did the machine take you for?
2,000.
Seriously, you put that big bill into
It's
this
not like
whole
I had a
thing?
choice.
No
That was
wonder
the only
machine
cash I
kept it.
had.
What
What
an
was I supposed
idiot!
to do?
Why not just burn your money?
For anyone who doesn't know, 2,000 Japanese yen is about 18.84 US dollars. That being said, that is a lot to spend on a vending machine, so I understand Misaka laughing about that.
I can get it back for you.
Oh yeah? How?
Easy like this.
Now why not do that to make the machine work more often? Why is an institute shutting down due to studying intractable diseases? Sounds like something that's worth learning more about.
You realize by accepting these, I'm graduating from innocent bystander to accomplice. That's not a role I want to take on. Ow!
So, a strawberry flavored drink is too hot for you?
There's something I still don't get about you. You've got power, but no confidence to back it up, so you end up walking around looking like a complete idiot. You bested Mikoto Misaka, that's not—
Oh, so this is where the "let me tell you why that's bullshit" screenshot came from. Yeah, that meme was very popular in 2010. It was an expression used to begin a counter-argument to discussion forums and image boards on the internet. This very frame of Misaka is the original screenshot of the meme, and after that, other examples focusing on certain subjects would follow. I'm not sure if this meme is still alive, probably not because memes are known to die, but it is pretty impressive that a half-decent show would be the origin of a then popular meme.
You've got power, but no confidence to back it up, so you end up walking around looking like a complete idiot. You bested Mikoto Misaka, that's not something a lot of people can say.
No, he didn't. You said it was a draw, right?
What could I possibly have done to make you this mad at me? I didn't so much as lay a finger on you even after you attacked me.
Exactly! You haven't hit me a single time! With no points scored on either side, this is a draw.
Bested?
You have a
I beat her at something? Sports, maybe? It would be a lot easier to be a gracious victor if I knew what the heck she was talking about. But this lecture doesn't make any sense to me. Please, let her stop talking.
Toma, why don't you just tell Misaka that you don't remember anything? You don't need to hide your memory problem from everyone. Then again, you couldn't tell style about it, so it should be no surprise that you wouldn't tell Misaka either.
I'm surprised you don't already know what they call me at Tokiwadai Middle School.
Is that you, Sissy?
Okay, I didn't ask this when she first appeared because her appearances in that arc were not as significant, but why does Kuroko call Misaka sissy? Isn't that the wrong word to use, considering Kuroko is younger than Misaka?
It didn't make sense for you to be in a remedial class, but it was all just a pretense for this, huh?
What? I don't know what you're talking about. A pretense for what exactly?
Don't be coy, Sissy. I'm talking about this secret assignation.
Damn, Kuroko is using some big words. Did the writers want her to appear smart by using words like that?
Pleased to meet you. The name's Shirai Kuroko.
Did you really just refer to yourself as Shirai Kuroko? Misaka called herself Mikoto Misaka. First name first, last name last. But Kuroko said her last name first and her first name last, even though that is not how people say their full names in America, and this is an English dub. Didn't Funimation ever bother to fix that translation error, or did they simply not care?
Please. Are you kidding me?
You really think it's Lauren is my boyfriend?
Brittany Karbowski isn't even trying here. Actors, step up your game.
No, of course not. I know you'd have better taste than that. I'm going. I'm sure I can trust you not to embarrass yourself here, Sissy. Isn't that right? Kuroko!
Okay, I just love the interactions between Misaka and Kuroko. You see a lot of those in Railgun, and scenes like this remind me of that. And for that matter, I love the interactions between Toma and Misaka as well. Not only does the pair remind me of Taiga and Ryuji from Toradora, as I alluded to earlier, but their differences in personality traits along with certain situations can lead to very interesting scenarios. Despite Misaka not appearing as much in Index as in Railgun, I enjoy whenever she does talk to Toma, no matter the circumstance.
Hello, sister.
Another one? I'm confused. She has a twin?
Not exactly. I'm her younger sister, Misaka quickly replies.
But you don't look any younger than the real Misaka, Cozy says, expressing his doubts about the Misaka clone's claim.
Okay, you're her sister, but why are you talking about yourself in the third person like that?
Maybe the people responsible for the experiment wanted the Misaka clones to have narrative abilities, Cozy theorizes, unsure if he is 100% correct.
You both have the same last name. Doesn't it get kind of confusing around the house?
Toma, everyone in a family has the same last name. That's why they use their first names to eliminate any confusion.
Well, we have to get going now. You probably should too. You don't want to miss curfew.
But curfew is the time for students to go home, right? You're implying that it is still curfew, when now isn't the ideal time. Where did that ball come from?
Whoa! That's not fair! Damn it. What did I do to deserve this?
Nothing. It was the wind that moved the ball.
You're back. I thought you and your sister were going off somewhere to talk.
Why? Why the panty shot? You really need to stop looking at those, Toma. Blatant fan service like this isn't necessary.
So why are you here? I thought you and your sister were off bonding.
Misaka was there before and now she is here, Misaka says.
Can you specify where there is? Details, ma'am. They are important.
Where should we take these beverages? Misaka inquires, politely picking up one of the cans that are strewn about.
Oh no. It's okay. I can handle this by myself.
These beverages do not belong.
Hey, Toma, look at the beverage, not the panties. For fuck's sake, man.
Hey! Mr. Tomakamajo! My air conditioner's busted. I'm staying here with my brother for the night. It's like an old-fashioned slumber party.
Oh, that's cool. Is he home?
Nope, no idea where he is.
This is Micah. My classmate Tsuchi Mikoto is her stepbrother. Apparently, she's in training to become a maid.
Yeah, that's great and all, but how is she able to gain control of that thing? And how is she not dizzy after spinning around with it every time?
What is that? Some kind of fern?
It's an herb called sage. It's medicinal. I'm going to burn it, and the smoke it produces will make the fleas go away and leave Sphinx alone.
Smoke sounds very dangerous. It would be better if you used something less threatening, like some warm water or something.
What's that, Himagami? Does that go in the stew, or what?
This is a magic spray for removing fleas.
A magic spray? Really?
You simply aim the spray at the fleas and it eradicates them.
You're more likely to eradicate the cat. That's a can of high-strength pesticide.
Here's a better idea. Use flea tablets, feed them to your cat, and the fleas will go away in 30 minutes. Seems more efficient than burning plants or using pesticide sprays. Toma and indexes cat faces.
Alright then.
Why stack the cans? There is no way they would balance that easily.
Are you and Miss Misaka acquaintances?
No, well, not really.
If you still had your memories, you would probably think otherwise.
Tree diagram, was it?
Yep, that's what they called it. The most powerful supercomputer ever to exist loaded aboard the great satellite Orihime 1, which was launched by Academy City in order to analyze data regarding the world's climate. Well, that's what they tell us. But what do you suppose the chances are that such a thing actually exists?
You act like the tree diagram is just an urban legend, when it really exists and was destroyed along with the satellite 2 weeks ago. Hell, the loss of the tree diagram is a huge advantage in your plan to save your clones.
That's Mikoto, isn't it? It's the younger sister. Man, if you lose the goggles, there's no way to tell them apart.
Well, except for the dead eyes that all of the clones have. Or is that not an obvious giveaway to you?
You're the one who found him. So shouldn't you be the one who gets to give him a name?
It's Dog.
Huh?
The black cat will be named Dog, Misaka unequivocally declares. He is a cat, named Dog.
That's the last thing I would name that cat. Why name it something that it's not?
Perhaps we should call him Nelson Mandela, Misaka suggests.
That's overdoing it.
How about Schrödinger?
No, you cannot name a cat Schrödinger.
Let us take a moment to truly appreciate the utter stupidity of this English translation. They pronounced the last name of an English philosopher wrong. It is Schrödinger, not Schrödinger. Even Komoe, who reveals a bunch of information about the espers and RSPK syndrome, and is very smart, can't say his name right. That's a lot of L's right there, just in case you confuse this with book off.
I'm guessing they're not going to appreciate it if I come into the store carrying a cat.
I have previously informed you of my limitations. I cannot safely interact with the cat, Misaka says for...
You said cats don't like you because of the magnetic field, right? Well, maybe the two of you can change that. It could be the start of a beautiful friendship.
Honestly, that is unacceptable. What kind of person would so thoughtlessly throw a kitten around? Misaka asks incredulously.
I agree, Misaka clone. That cat could have easily fallen to the ground because of him. Smart move in taking your shoes off, Misaka clone. Running barefoot results in increasing your speed after all.
What are you running away like that for?
Okay, let me just get this out of the way. Accelerator's voice in the English dub isn't that great. Now, it does employ the same tactic as Komoe's English voice, finding a voice that's different but still suitable. But here, I don't think it suits him as much. He sounds completely flat and disinterested here. He sounded way more menacing in the Japanese version. Regardless, I did get used to it, but excellent voice it ain't. I appreciate that they tried though.
Don't get me wrong, I do appreciate the view. You've got such a cute little ass.
I bet you say that to all the girls, Accelerator. There are more sounds of the gunshot than there are of the bullets being deflected.
Answer me this. What technique was it that I just used? Which of my skills did I elect to turn against you? You were close, but I'm afraid that's not this particular technique. No, the right answer is vector transformation. It could be anything. Kinetic energy, heat, an electrical charge. Whatever vector comes in contact with my skin, I can transform. In all fairness, though, reflection is usually my default.
In that case, the Misaka clone should have said deflection, as that is a more appropriate term to describe the basic gist of your ability.
What do you suppose would happen if I reversed your blood flow? Answer the question correctly, and then you can rest. In pieces.
Okay, the last part of that line was a bit scary. That's one of the many reasons I love this guy.
I wasn't gone long, so where did she wander off to?
How can you tell that's where the Misaka clone went? There are no footprints to indicate that. Wait, the Misaka clone got shot after she took her shoes off. There is no way her shoes would be in the same place where she got shot.
Misaka. How?
Well, I never knew someone would vomit from looking at a gory corpse. You learn something new every day.
Something the matter?
It's just, this is where I found her body. I swear it was right here.
Hey. Yeah. Sorry, kid. There just isn't anything here.
But there was. The body of a young girl was in this alley.
God, these cops are stupid. A bloody mess like this was bound to get cleaned up afterwards. Hell, there should be security cameras around these parts so they can monitor everything that goes on in them.
What are you carrying in that bag?
Before saying more, I must verify your password. Misaka states as she was instructed to. CXC741-ASD852-QWE963 asks Misaka, testing you.
What the?
It does not appear you are able to decode the password, and given that fact, you are clearly not part of this experiment. Misaka is forced to evaluate.
Then how do you know that Toma has a password? If he's not part of the experiment, he wouldn't have a password.
What exactly do you have there in that bag?
The bag contains sisters, answers Misaka matter-of-factly. I must apologize for leaving the black cat behind with you, Misaka says regretfully. But I did not feel right bringing him. A battle between humans is no place for an animal. Misaka justifies her actions.
Why are you all speaking for the Misaka clone carrying the bag? Neither of you were the ones who met Toma earlier in the day.
The bag contains sisters, answers Misaka matter-of-factly. I must apologize for leaving the black cat behind with you, Misaka says regretfully. But I did not feel right bringing him. A battle between humans is no place for an animal. Misaka justifies her actions. I appear to have caused undue concern. That is an unfortunate result of the experiment, Misaka says, apologizing. But you truly needn't have worried. I came here to explain. There is nothing amiss. You see, we are many. All Misakas here are Misaka.
Where are these clones coming from? They seem to just appear out of nowhere at different parts of the alleyway.
I'd appreciate it if you'd look after Dog.
Cat, not dog. Again, why call it something that it's not?
It all looks delicious.
Indeed.
Since you dropped by uninvited, perhaps you would like to serve.
I wonder how Komoe reacted when she found out that her apartment room was completely decimated. I know she mentions the broken roof and railgun, but what I'm saying relates to how she felt when she first saw it. Also, how did Himegami know where Komoe lives? And how does she know Komoe at all? This is why details are important.
That same meat over which you are salivating has been proven to contain carcinogens.
What? I've never heard anything about that before. Where are you getting your information from? I see what you're up to. You're trying to frighten me away from eating the meat so you can have it all to yourself.
Do you have a meat fetish, Himegami, by any chance?
So hungry. What was that? Who was at the door, Himegami?
No one. It's nobody at all.
Saying it's no one when there's clearly someone at the door cliche.
We have a fair amount of meat, and we can always fill up on these lovely vegetables as well.
Just FYI, this admittedly tasty meal on screen that Kamoe, Index, and Himegami are having is called yakiniku. It costs 12,000 yen, or about $120. Despite not being wealthy enough to be living in an apartment that is in a relatively poor state, Kamoe managed to buy a 12,000 yen meal. Again, this drinker slash chain smoker slash instructor is truly a wonder in this city.
Hold on. I think I recognize your voice from somewhere. Ah! It's you! You're the boy Sissy had a clandestine meeting with! Explain yourself. What do you want with her?
Oh, it's nothing really that important.
If it's not important, then why did you make the trip all the way down here?
Down here, Toma is at the ground floor of the dormitory, and the dormitory itself doesn't seem to be at a lower level of the city.
There's no telling how long you'll be waiting for her. You might as well have a seat over on the bed.
No, thank you. I couldn't do that. Not without her permission.
If that's what you're worried about, don't bother. That's my bed.
Then that one belongs to Misaka? What are you doing on somebody else's bed? Are you some kind of pervert?
Well, considering how she acts in Railgun, yeah, she's a pervert. Though I don't think she's as flanderized in that show as other viewers suggest.
Everyone has their own personal preferences. They may seem strange to other people, but
You know, Kuroko looks kind of attractive in this pose, not gonna lie.
you're here at an all-girls dorm and you call me a pervert? Everyone has their own personal preferences. They may seem strange to other people, but that doesn't make them wrong or perverted. Come on, like you never secretly pressed your lips to your crush's picture? Or stole the seat from her bicycle to caress?
No.
You know, Kuroko, that's two of the many things that can really make you feel like a pervert. Hell, you are literally sitting on Misaka's bed right now. If you've done anything creepy with it, that's another thing that can make you perverted. At least in the case of Toma, he isn't gay.
Come to think of it, if you share a room, doesn't that make you classmates? The way you keep calling her Sissy, it sounds more like a nickname for an upperclassman.
That's not what sissy means, dude. Sissy is a term for a younger sister. In this case, Kuroko is the real sissy, and not Misaka. A more appropriate term for Misaka is master.
I saw to it that her previous roommate was reassigned. Then I took her place here. It was simple enough to do. It was all totally legal, of course.
It may not be illegal, but I don't think it's right for a student to share the same dorm room with another student that is a year behind her.
Then conversely, couldn't electricity be used to make the propellers turn? There are electromagnetic waves constantly emanating from her.
Wait, why is there a flashback to their encounter in episode 1? He should have remembered that, because his memories don't go back any further than July 28th, 8 days after their meeting on the bridge.
The propellers are turning, but there isn't any wind tonight. The turning of the propellers is usually used to generate electricity. Then conversely, couldn't electricity be used to make the propellers turn? There are electromagnetic waves constantly emanating from her. So if I follow the moving propellers, then...
That's ridiculous. How can using reverse electricity make the propellers rotate? And where Misaka actually ends up isn't that close to the turbines.
So you want to know what extrasensory perception is?
Extra sensory perception. Esper. Ah, I see what you did there.
I can explain best by putting it in the context of Schrodinger's theory. I've never heard of him. He was a professor of quantum mechanics. He's best known for the Schrodinger's cat thought experiment. The premise itself is a bit morbid, so I'll alter it for our purposes. Now, as you can see, I'm holding a box here in my hand. Without opening it, guess what's inside the box?
That's a silly question. It's chocolate, of course.
It says right there it's a box of chocolates. No, sorry, you're wrong. There are actually hard candies inside. No fair. That was a trick.
The meat is done.
Okay, sister, guess again. What do you suppose is hidden inside the box? But you already told me the answer. You said it was hard candies. That's right. But have you considered the possibility that I might be lying to you? So it's equally probable that the box contains chocolate or hard candy. We won't know unless we open it. So let's see.
It's not really chock full of chocolate. Pardon the pun.
All right, now we do it again. Tell me, sister, what do you suppose is inside the box? You already showed me there was chocolate inside. Most people would answer the same way as you. They'd be 100% certain that the box contains chocolate. But what if there was someone who believed it was hard candy instead? And what if they opened the box to find their belief was reality?
Since you refuse to explain the real Schrodinger's cat, I'll take the liberty of doing so instead. Schrodinger's cat is a thought experiment, meaning it was never actually executed. It was devised by Erwin Schrödinger, and he made it to illustrate what he saw as the problem of the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics applied to everyday objects. The premise of the experiment involved a cat, a flask of poison, and a radioactive source, all of which are sealed in a box. The monitor would detect radioactivity, causing the flask to break, releasing the poison, resulting in the cat being killed. The Copenhagen interpretation insinuates that the cat is both alive and dead after a period of time. However, when the observer looks at the box, they would see the cat as either alive or dead, not both. That being said, I don't think what Komoe actually went with is a good representation of the experiment. She was on the right track by bringing up the choice between chocolate and hard candy, which is where the Copenhagen interpretation comes into play, but I don't think she explained well enough that the answer being either chocolate or hard candy is equally probable. I appreciate that she tried though.
How could they? Why did everything have to end up this way?
This song is really good. It has a really slow and depressing feeling to it, and Mami Kawata's singing elevates the experience like her other songs. The song's name is Ame, and it translates to rain, and that is an excellent way to describe the scene that goes with it. While it isn't raining, it is a very melancholic scene. Misaka has been lied to about the experiment, and her cry for help represents rains of sorrow, and I really love that, as well as the song itself. Let's have a brief listen to it, shall we?
You know what paralysis is, right? It's when a person has lost the use of one or more of their limbs. Many people suffer from this.
In a healthy body, commands from the brain are sent to the muscles through electrical signals.
Paralysis is caused when these signals cannot be sent. But if we had the power to control bioelectricity, we might be able to cure it.
By making use of your particular ability, we could help many thousands of people.
Hey, did you hear? There's a rumor that they're making military clones in Academy City.
Yeah, and supposedly they're using a level 5's DNA map.
You don't think it's that girl in our class, do you? Who needs you anyway?
So let me get this straight. These doctors said they would use Misaka's power to cure paralysis, but instead used her DNA map to create thousands of clones, only for them to be killed as part of an experiment? I feel sorry for her.
For being
An
out at
analysis
night?
of tree diagram calculations has been conducted. The optimal plan would involve creating 128 different battlefields upon which Railgun would be killed. After that number of victories, Accelerator would then advance to level 6. Since that number of railguns cannot be produced, a different plan has been developed. This plan will involve the mass production of Railgun's level 5 sisters. The numbers have been adjusted. It has been determined that 20,000 different battlefields and a corresponding number of sister deaths will be needed to produce the desired results. Essentially, that means your younger sisters were created so they could be killed as part of an experiment to produce a level 6.
Shame on you, poking your nose in where it doesn't belong. I had that file securely hidden.
And by securely hidden, you mean under your bed, because that is not a good place to be hiding your report, let alone your stuffed animal.
The fact that you're holding it means that you've been in my room without my permission.
You know you have a roommate, right? Did it ever occur to you that Toma actually came to your room with her permission? Or does her permission not matter to you?
Why are you here? Did you come because reading that file made you concerned about me? Or just to tell me you're disgusted?
Of course it made me concerned about you.
You know, it's surprisingly nice to hear somebody say that, even if it isn't the truth.
But it is the truth.
It's not.
I'm telling you, I mean what I say!
Where did you get the idea that he's actually lying? He sounded pretty serious.
The tree diagram satellite was actually attacked from the ground and brought down a few weeks back. The source of the attack hasn't been determined. There could be no recalculations. Regardless of how much data they have, without the computer to analyze it, they'd have no choice but to stop the project.
If the tree diagram wasn't destroyed, then the experiments would have a higher chance of succeeding, because whenever something did go wrong, they would use the computer to do some recalculations every time, making it harder for Misaka to stop the project. Basically, if the index arc didn't happen, the experiments would have succeeded, and that would not have been a good thing.
And once I'm done, this whole twisted experiment will come to an end. Stand aside.
I'm not moving.
Misaka, you could just walk around him, it's not that hard.
You idiot! Don't you realize what's on the line here? If I don't do this, then 10,000 of my sisters are going to be killed! Or are you so heartless you think since they're just a bunch of clones, it's no big deal if they die?
Not at all. I think their deaths would be a tragedy. But I also think there must be some other way to stop it. I'm not gonna let you do this.
So, you really mean to stand in my way? You're choosing my single life over the lives of 10,000 of my sisters.
Except that's not what he said. He said that the deaths of your clones would be tragic, meaning that he wouldn't want your clones to die either. Toma's T-pose.
Like it or not, you will fight me!
Holy shit, that's dangerously close. I'm surprised Toma doesn't get electrocuted by this, and he isn't using his right hand at all.
Oh no.
How is he still alive? He wasn't using his right hand at all, and that attack was huge, and somehow he survives it. Reused animation from episode 1. Toma still remains standing after that attack, when he really should be dead by now.
Why don't you get it? You know full well I'm responsible for the deaths of thousands. I deserve to be punished. There's no place for a monster like me in this world. Not anymore. Why are you even doing this? Why are you risking your life to stick up for a monster like me?
You're not a monster.
He has a point. If you're not the one who killed your clones, then technically, you're not responsible for their deaths. Besides, you didn't know what would actually happen in the experiment. You were lied to. So yeah, you're not a monster like you claim. You just didn't know the scientist's true objective.
There's no way you'll survive this next attack. Not if you stand there and take it head on. Now move. Unless you want this to be your death.
I won't move.
Well, I guess no is basically Misaka's trigger word. Okay, no, this time he should really be dead. Like Misaka said, there is no way he would survive that attack. It was so large that it is a guaranteed death. But Toma has to survive, because the plot demands it. First person point of view at critical plot moments number 1.
RSPK syndrome, known to laymen as poltergeisting, refers to the uncontrollable outburst of power from a person who is no longer in touch with reality. It occurs as the result of emotional trauma or excessive stress.
Just FYI, RSPK stands for Recurrent Spontaneous Psychokinesis. This poltergeist that Komoe is talking about plays a role in a story arc in Railgun, where a character's telepathic abilities is the main cause of the poltergeists. I never recalled RSPK syndrome being mentioned in this episode until watching it again.
It's the type of students like Kamajo who are the most important for us to study.
Oh, so then you know about Toma's power?
Yes, well, that Kamajo has been a naughty little boy ever since he enrolled in classes here. We've been through quite a lot together. Quite a lot indeed.
Another one? That stupid jerk.
Is Komoe in love with Toma or something? She has to be. Hell, one of Toma's friends seemed to confirm that in the beginning of the series.
Our sweet teacher has totally got a thing for you, man. Are you too blind to see it?
Toma is seriously a hit with the ladies.
The fact that level zeros exist means that there are still principles that we do not fully understand, and knowing that may prove very useful to us.
So, by that logic, Satin may be useful for your studies. She's a level 0 as well. Hell, she was one of your students in a special class session dedicated to people who use the level upper in Railgun. First person point of view at critical plot moments number 2. After that huge attack in the previous episode, it would take a long time for Toma to regain his strength, but a few seconds later, he's able to walk perfectly fine. I shouldn't be surprised at this point.
The time is 8:25 by my clock.
What clock? You don't even have a watch on you. Or do you have an internal clock like Komoe?
3 minutes and 20 seconds remain until the experiment is scheduled to begin.
You and Accelerator have been talking for less than a minute now. There is no way it could be nearly 8:27.
You are already the strongest level 5 in Academy City. You are in a position where nobody else can touch you. So there is no need for you to become more powerful, Misaka states reasonably.
Remember, the goal of the experiment is to produce a level 6. For all we know, Accelerator is not at that point yet. He's already halfway done in reaching that goal. He may not need to become more powerful, but the higher-ups in the experiment do.
1 minute 30 seconds until the experiment commences.
Well, thanks, Misaka10032. I would have totally forgotten that the experiment is about to begin very shortly. Your ankle should have shattered. Well, you are the strongest level 5 Esper, so maybe landing on the ground from that big a height is nothing to you. Naruto run.
Have you noticed? Tonight the wind is at 0 miles per hour.
What's that smell? Huh, so that's it. You're breaking down the oxygen with electricity and turning it into ozone. If you take away my air, maybe I'll pass out. Is that the idea?
It took 10,031 experiments for a single Misaka clone to come up with a strategy. Even the strongest has a weakness. Accelerator activated the moonjump code. From where Accelerator kicked that rock, it wouldn't have destroyed that searchlight, unless altering the movement of a projectile is one of Accelerator's abilities too.
Very impressive. A heroic speech. Tell me, did you just come up with that or have you been practicing? However, you must have realized that there's a slight problem with your plan. Or did you forget that I'm here?
Remember when I said that Accelerator's English voice sounded flat? Well, it's not like that all the time. Scenes like this show that he's actually trying. I imagine he'll get better later on in the series. I haven't watched the entire English dub of this show yet.
Come on! Try!
I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but Toma wouldn't have survived that. One of those rails should have killed him.
Alright then. I think it's about time we put an end to this.
So, Accelerator attacks Toma using a bunch of rails, some of which should have seriously injured him, and Toma's only attack back at Accelerator is a slap on the hand. Figures. It just shows how sorely lacking Toma's combat abilities are.
What?
Well, I guess getting touched gets Accelerator triggered. Those explosions are so big and Toma is evidently so close to them that he should have been burned to death. Oh, would you look at that? The explosions didn't burn him to death. Perhaps he was running so fast after that slow motion scene that he managed to avoid them in time.
Not fun, huh? I told you dust explosions are nasty. I'm surprised you lived.
See, even Accelerator agrees with me.
I seriously thought I was gonna die there. You should be thrilled. You accomplished something nobody else in the world has before. Can't believe you drove me to the point where I damn near got myself killed. Try as hard as you want, but you're wasting your time. You won't make it a step closer. And let's be honest, even supposing you did make it, what could you possibly hope to accomplish? You do know that my Esper power is the ability to control any vector. All I would have to do is touch you once. With that one touch, I could cause the blood vessels and internal organs from your body to burst, just so you know exactly what you're up against.
Accelerator, now would be a good time to do something. Like, drop some containers on him. You could have done that while Toma was struggling to get back up, instead of just boasting about your powers. Okay, I won't do this very often, but I have to give a shout out to the background music that plays in this scene. It is intense as all hell. The insane beats and the electro theme complement each other very well. The fast and energetic pace of the music is also excellent. It makes every fight scene that uses it more compelling. Too bad this fight scene isn't anything special. It really amounts to Toma just punching Accelerator multiple times and afterwards Accelerator employing the same tactic he pulled on Toma in the previous episode. The fight scenes in Railgun make better use of the song. Regardless, this song is pure bliss and one of my favorites in the OST. Honestly, did you really think that doing that again would work? You could have done something else to try and kill him. I get that he's trying, but Accelerator's crackling sounds in this version are nowhere near as scary as in the Japanese version.
Now die!
Why didn't he use his right hand? He remembered how to use it a few scenes ago, right?
No. You can't interfere. Remember?
I'm sorry. I really am. I know you didn't want it to wind up like this. You wanted a happy ending, where everybody's okay and no one loses anything. But that just isn't possible now. So again, I'm sorry. My reason for interfering here might be selfish. I know that. But it doesn't change the fact that I don't want you to die tonight because of me.
No, Misaka!
How are you two hearing each other? From a considerable distance, I might add. The noise from the plasma should drain your hearing.
Plasma?
No, Misaka, that is not a plasma. That is a spirit bomb.
You need to wake up. There's something important I have to ask you to do. It's something only you can do.
You mean something that all of your remaining clones can do, not just this one, because judging by what we'll see in a few minutes, what actually happens is something that all of the clones do.
Did I miscalculate the wind somehow? What? How could this be happening right now?
You know, you should have released your spirit bomb way earlier. That way, the reversed effects of the turbines wouldn't have affected it. I wonder how many wind turbines are there in Academy City. There are currently 9,968 clones to my understanding. That means 9,968 turbines are being reversed. A bigger question is, how did all of these clones do all of this in a short enough time before Accelerator releases his spirit bomb?
I find that intriguing. Let's finish this!
He's supposed to be the strongest, and I'm the weakest. Let's see who's the stronger one now!
And that's another punch in the face out of the way. At least this one had a badass line to go along with it. Also, Accelerator could have easily won this fight by using projectile attacks. You know, like how he kicked that rock from the previous episode. But since this plot demands it, he decides to use the same dashing move he used in that episode and try to fight hand to hand, leading to Toma fighting back. This pretty much makes Accelerator a lot dumber than usual, and as an Accelerator fan, I can admit that. This is the third time Toma ends up in the hospital.
Misaka was using the flow of bioelectricity. I needed to do so in order to monitor your brainwaves and pulse, says Misaka, explaining her actions.
So you can read someone's brainwaves and pulse just by touching their hand? Are you like the human version of an oximeter or something?
By their very nature, cellular clones have a shorter lifespan than normal humans. Because of rapid growth, ours have been cut even shorter than that. Does that make sense, Misaka asks? So it is necessary for the research facility to take us in temporarily and adjust us each individually. Are you even listening? Your face looks blank, Misaka asks, glowering.
I think he is. If his face is blank, that must mean he was looking at you the whole time.
Adjust you how?
It's simple. They'll perform a hormone balancing procedure for our rapid growth. Also, they will adjust the mitotic rate of our cellular nuclei. This will allow our lifespans to be restored to some degree. Well, that's all, Misaka says. I'll leave now.
Hey, wait a second. This adjusting stuff, is it a cure?
Well, considering that we see the clones later on in the series, yeah, they must have cured at least some of these clones somehow. We are told later in the season that less than 10 of the students are living a normal life in Academy City.
So now that the experiment is over, fewer than 10 of the sisters are still living in Academy City.
Maybe you're worried about this Misaka clone specifically.
Okay. There don't seem to be any major problems.
Yeah, Toma got electrocuted multiple times by Misaka and got beat up and was attacked by rails by Accelerator, and yet there are no major problems. There should be scratches on him, but alas.
Here, get well soon.
Oh, thank you.
I picked out the most expensive ones the department store had. From the price, I'm guessing those are some pretty good cookies.
The cliche of a tsundere handing their gift to someone is strong for this one, especially considering that in Railgun, which takes place before this, it's insinuated that Misaka has some sort of crush on Toma. They make it more aware in Index too, and it's kind of cute, honestly.
Don't people always say homemade cookies are the most tasty?
Oh, is that so? Can you seriously picture me baking cookies?
No, never. I imagine if you tried to, you'd make a horrible mess of the kitchen and the cookies would come out all misshapen and disgusting. That's what you're saying, right?
I meant baking's not my style, not that I couldn't do it.
Toma, you should be thankful that Misaka is giving something to you after everything you've done. But you're saying you prefer homemade cookies and insulting Misaka's potential baking abilities? Get the fuck out of here, man!
That experiment was messed up in a lot of ways. But at least there was something good that came from it. Your sisters. You can take pride in that.
I can take pride, can't I? Even though 10,000 of them were mowed down by Accelerator?
Yes, even so. I'm sure that none of them would blame you for it. Think about it. Without you, they wouldn't have a chance at life at all. So it's okay for you to let yourself feel a little happy.
I admire Toma's words of wisdom here. The experiment may have been straight up cruel, but without Misaka, her clones wouldn't have a chance at life. So, her smile is all they need. Hell, it's all I need too. I enjoy seeing this cute little tsundere in both Index and Railgun, and her smile is an added bonus in my book. How did you know Toma would be here?
Well, Toma, is there something you'd like to say?
Nice morning, isn't it?
Nice morning? It's the middle of the day, you idiot!
Hey, lay off! I'm seriously hurt this time!
No, not according to the doctor. He said that there were no major problems with you. Granted, he's wrong, but still, it goes from broad daylight to sunset in only a few seconds.
What was it that you were fighting for this time around?
Huh? I was fighting for myself.
No, you weren't. Okay, I'll end this video on a positive note. This ending is absolutely beautiful. Misaka walking home alive and well, and Kuroko being very happy to see her after being gone for so long, and the Misaka clone taking good care of the cat she found, it's all pretty sweet stuff. I mean, imagine if Misaka did go for her original plan and sacrificed herself to save her remaining clones. Things would have ended a lot differently, and I am very glad that wasn't the case. But what makes me love this ending so much is the music. It gives off a relaxing but very happy feeling. The little vocals especially make the song infinitely better. It really feels like an ending song to a story arc. It almost brings me to tears every time I hear it, especially when listening to it during the ending that goes with it. Bottom line, after everything that Misaka and her clones have gone through, this was the best way to send things off. A happy ending to what is, in my opinion, the best story arc in Season 1.